Gather around because it's time for a ghost story. Four, in fact. I'm going to tell you about the time I encountered spirits in the woods in broad daylight with witnesses. I'm Steve Christian, the host and creator of a TV show that aired locally here in Jacksonville from 2010 until 2020 called Local Haunts. And as the title suggests, it's about paranormal investigation. Me and my team would go around the Jacksonville area looking into haunted locations, including the Florida Theater, which got national recognition, and lots of other places. And we encountered a lot of ghosts. But today I'm going to tell you about four that I encountered in a place you wouldn't expect while doing something I enjoyed, hiking on a nature trail in broad daylight. Back in 2012, I was introduced to what I call the freak of nature, Pamela Theresa, medium in the raw, and found out really quick that she was the real deal. She sees and hears the spirit world like you see and hear me right now. I felt like I hit the jackpot. As a paranormal investigator, here's somebody who can see and hear the spirit world. She agreed to work with me to help me open up my spiritual gifts because there's a reason why I do what I do. I've encountered the paranormal my whole life, but she was going to help me turn the dial up to 11. So we did what I call Jedi training. In the summer of 2012, she and I would work together almost daily, just helping me open up my gifts and become more aware of the spirit world. And sometimes we would just simply go for a hike on the trail while we did our Jedi training. Living in Northeast Florida, we are blessed with a lot of beautiful nature trails. And one of my favorite nature trails that I would hike on is at the University of North Florida. They have miles of nature trails, and they're gorgeous, and they're open to the public. At the end of July of 2012, I had only been working with Pamela Theresa for about a week, but I was becoming much more aware of my surroundings in the spirit world. One day I was on this nature trail at UNF with a friend, and we were just hiking down the trail. It was afternoon, it was daylight, it was summertime, it was hot. And as we're walking down the trail, I got a text alert on my phone. And immediately after the text alert came through, I walked through a cold spot in the middle of the trail. I pulled out my phone and looked at the text message I just received, and it was from Pamela. And it said, "You have one with you right now." And in quotation marks, it said, "high vibe," meaning high vibrational spirit. And I'm standing there in this cold spot in the trail. And my friend could feel it too. It's like literally it's 100 degrees outside, but where I was standing, it was like standing in the doorway of an open fridge. It was like this weird pocket of cold air right in the middle of the trail. There's no explanation for that. Now, when Pamela said it was high vibration, she meant angelic, not a ghost. Unlike what you've probably heard on other paranormal shows, ghosts don't create cold spots. In fact, earthbound spirits are warm. And when you feel them, they feel warm and tingly. You could feel the energy. But what I was feeling on the trail was very cold. And it was very compact to where a person would be standing. Both me and my friend were just completely amazed. A, that Pamela Theresa knew that I was in the presence of a high vibrational spirit. And she called it out exactly when it happened. And she wasn't with me. That was amazing. On a different day, I decided to bring Pamela Theresa to the same nature trail at UNF. And we're walking under this oak tree that had a low hanging branch that you can reach up and touch as you're walking under it. And as I walked under it, I got a strange sensation as if I kind of like walked through a spider web at neck level. It was a weird tingling sensation, but it kind of like felt like restricting in a way. It was a very unusual sensation. And Pamela looked at me, she goes, "Do you feel something?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel like something across my neck." And she started chuckling. Now, this is going to sound a little crazy, but Pamela said, "In that branch right there, there is an earthbound spirit. And he has a rope, and he gets his jollies off by trying to hang people as they walk down the trail." I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. But she said, "He's up there and you can feel him." And she guided me to put my hand up there, and I can feel the warm tingle sensation of the earthbound spirit. She gave him the nickname Robin, as in Robin Hood. So we continued to walk down the trail a little bit, and we stopped about 30 yards down the trail because we heard some people coming up behind us. So she goes, "Stop and watch this." So we stopped and we looked back down the trail to where Robin was in the tree. He was still there with his rope, waiting for the next victims to come along. And sure enough, a couple come walking down the trail. Lo and behold, as they walked under Robin's tree, one of them grabbed his throat like he felt something. And Pamela and I started laughing. Robin struck again. I know it's crazy, but this happened. Why was Robin in the woods? I don't know. They got to be somewhere. But for some reason, he liked to hang out in that tree with his rope, messing with people as they walked underneath. Hey, when you have all eternity and nothing else to do, you got to do something, right? On another day, Pamela and I were out there on the trail again, walking on a beautiful summer afternoon, and I saw something I could not explain. Ahead of us, about 30, 40 yards, I saw the best way I could describe it was imagine the invisible man wearing a t shirt and nothing else. I saw a white t shirt jogging through the woods, not on the trail, through the woods, through the underbrush of the woods. He cut across our trail from my right to my left and kept going at a really quick pace, just gliding smoothly. Just this t shirt with the arms pumping up and down. It was just a t shirt, but I could see the arms moving back and forth as if somebody was jogging. I couldn't see his arms. I couldn't see his legs. I couldn't see his head. I just saw this t-shirt cross the path and running through the woods. Now, Pamela, being the freak of nature that she is, she could see the entire guy. But for some reason, I was only making out his t-shirt. But I saw it plain as day. It was a solid looking t-shirt, just jogging through the woods. But the crazy thing was, it didn't make a sound. It wasn't even on a trail. It was just cutting through the underbrush right in front of us. Very cool. But Pamela described him as a young man about 35 years old, wearing the white t-shirt, had running shorts on, tennis shoes, and he was just jogging away. Did he die on the nature trail jogging? I don't know, but that's where he was. And that's what he's doing in the afterlife, just jogging endlessly on the trails at UNF. Now, this next spirit encounter happened on a different nature trail. This one happened at the historic Fort Caroline National Monument located in Jacksonville, Florida on the St. Johns River. Now, Fort Caroline has a tragic past. It was built by the French in the 1500s, but the Spaniards came along and slaughtered everybody. Women, children, men, you name it. They were there. They died. Like 155 of them, I think. But one sunny afternoon, Pamela Theresa and I were walking on the trails of Fort Caroline. And as we rounded a turn in the trail, I looked to my right. And as I'm walking along, I could see this guy standing there in a blue military uniform. But the funny thing was, to me, he looked out of focus. But he was just standing there in the bushes, quietly watching us as we walked by. And as we moved down the trail, I'm looking at him, and he just fades away. And I asked Pamela, I said, "Did you see that guy?" And she goes, "The soldier?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "In a blue uniform?" And I said, "Yeah." She validated what I saw. But the interesting thing is, to me, he was fuzzy and out of focus. But to her, he looked like a dude standing there in uniform, crystal clear. Freak of nature. That was amazing. Had I seen somebody who was murdered at the Fort Caroline fort back in the 1500s? Or it could have even been somebody from the Civil War. I couldn't really make out the uniform because he was kind of fuzzy. But he was there, broad daylight. I saw him. Then he disappeared. It was so cool. Working with Pamela Theresa, I truly was opening up my spiritual sight and beginning to see and experience a lot more of the paranormal. Have you encountered spirits in the woods or on a nature trail? Let me know in the comments. Now, Pamela Theresa's day job is connecting people to their loved ones on the other side. She's a medium. That's what she does. If you'd like to have a session with Pamela Theresa, you can find her contact information in the link in the description of this video. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for more My Haunted Medium Life.